Really excited to bring on with us today author and historian Deric Gilliard, who also spent time with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which, Dr. King started, and also within 4 different administrations, maybe 5 different administrations, presidential administrations, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, before retiring a few years ago. He's also written a few different books, and I'm really excited to have him on. Deric, can you hear me right now?
I can hear you perfectly well, Eugene.
Thank you so much for joining us on this day and to talk about the legacy that Dr. King has left, but also the context in which what he taught and how it would look in today as well. I'm looking forward to this conversation. First, can I ask you, you have such a wide experience when talking about the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Tell me a little bit about your work for those who may be unfamiliar, your background, and how it all fits within the conversation of civil rights and then the work that Dr. King left behind.
Yes, so I was there in the 1990s with Dr. Joseph Lowry, who was the co-founder along with Dr. King, and there were a group of 60 ministers essentially that founded the organization. And he led the organization for about 20 years. And so in the 90s, when I was there, we dealt with certainly things like redistricting. We finally got Georgia's 5th congressional district, now led by Congressman Hank Johnson. We dealt with things like the burning of the black churches. You may remember that in the 90s that was going on. It was really rampant. We dealt with things like the fact that the inequity in the sentencing for crack cocaine versus powder cocaine. We dealt with economic issues and we pressured companies that would come in to our communities and set up and make a lot of money, but wouldn't hire black managers, wouldn't use black vendors. And so those are some of the kind of issues. And certainly voting was always one of the very first and key things. And one of the things you think about today, when you look at issues like healthcare, Dr. King said of all the injustices known to man here in this United States, the lack of healthcare is a key one. And Eugene, if you decide that I don't know how I'm coming through on your end, that I need to go
You're
to my phone, I could do
You're
that.
perfect. You're perfect. We can hear you just fine. And you know what? I'm glad that you mentioned that about healthcare. I was having a conversation today with others about the message of Dr. King and believing that there are things that he fought for, that he preached, that somehow it feels like decades later got lost in translation. And there are only certain things that tend to be cherry picked from his message. His attention to healthcare was one of those things that he really, really fought for and pushed forward. Double question here. What do you think he would say about the current state of healthcare, particularly when you think about the recent news of the enhanced tax subsidies and people's premiums going up? And what are some of the other things in what Dr. King preached that you think have kind of gotten lost in translation over the years that people might be surprised he fought for?
Well, yeah, there are so many things. And I think that, for example, our treatment of immigrants at this point in time, and quite honestly, to see how that is misused by so many people. Because he always talked, the Bible even tells us to welcome the stranger. And look what we're doing nothing like that. And he also talked about injustice demand uh, anywhere is injustice everywhere. And so, we have abandoned we've gotten to a place in our country, Eugene, our friends are now our enemies and our enemies are now our friends. The people who we've went to war with. uh,
Okay, it looks like we may have lost his visual there for a
Yeah,
moment. We'll try to
after
get it
the
back
day.
up. For right now, Sarah, let's do this. I believe I just saw the D.C. Mayor, Muriel Bowser, walk up to the podium there in D.C. Okay, here we go. I think we got Deric. Deric, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, we lost you there
Um,
just
I can
momentarily,
hear you
but
perfectly well.
we'll bring you back on here. I'll go to my next question there because one of the things I also was really curious about is you've written a few books, and one of those you said it's titled "Living in the Shadows of a Legend: Unsung Heroes and Sheroes Who Marched with Dr. King," focusing on those who were a part of the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act that we should know about, but most do not. Tell me about this book and what you believe people need to know about all of those who participated in that movement some 60 plus years ago, 80 years ago.
Absolutely, Eugene. Dr. King called them his unknown ground crew. He said, when the jet flights to freedom leave the earth, everybody, you'll have the known pilots and the unknown ground crew. And so these are the people who were in these towns and hamlets that when the SCLC, they call on the SCLC to come and help them organize movements and help them get justice, get the right to vote, get the right to go in and sit down at a restaurant and eat instead of having to go down to the back and pick up a bag of food from a window, not sitting in the back of the bus, all of these kind of things. And so that book focuses on 20 of those people from all around the country. They're white, they're black, they're men, they're women, they're young, they're old, who were very instrumental in the passage of those two landmark laws that, of course, we are now seeing the threat of them being overturned and taken back, just like so much other things like birthright citizenship. But one was a dentist out of St. Augustine, Florida, who, along with several of his colleagues, were spying on a Klan rally. And somebody, they caught them, they brought them before the rally. One of his patients, he was a dentist who had performed a very delicate surgery on, identified him. They beat them all into a state of unconscious and doused them with gasoline. And probably the only reason they didn't set them on fire was this was just 2 weeks after the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, where the four little girls were killed. Um, that was one of the people. So had a young Jewish guy named Willie Leventhal out of Los Angeles. He was at UCLA, and in 1965, Dr. King, before we could vote, he went to all these predominantly white colleges to get white students to come south to do voter education and registration. And Willie was one of 13 that came out of UCLA. He was a Jewish young man, and he was afraid to come, but he was inspired to come. And when he called his father to tell him he was coming, his father told him, he said for the first time in his life, he was proud of him. And he came down and worked in Macon, Georgia, until he got a phone call one day. And he says, "Are you that guy that wears the number 13 shirt?"
Looks like we've been going in and out here with Deric, which is unfortunate because it's such a good conversation and here. So we'll wait and see if we can get him back here live. And while we do that, let's go to the march here, Sarah, that is taking place. It looks like we have a local high school band that is playing now. We'll try to get Deric's feed up and running here for the last few minutes of our stream and see what goes there. But again, let's take this live look here as we're having this conversation on Dr. King, his legacy, and some of the things that may have gotten lost in translation along the way. Okay, we're going to switch to New York right now. We see a march that's taking place on Brooklyn Bridge. We'll give you a live aerial look here again, we are trying to get Deric back set up at the moment, but we want to take you to live feeds as this is live impact news and things happen in the moment. We're monitoring this march taking place again on in Brooklyn, in New York City. You can see there how many people are currently there marching along the street there. It's such a long line here at this moment. Also, we're monitoring something taking place in Philadelphia, where it appears there is an ICE rally that is taking place. Now, this is interesting because it's happening in Philadelphia as people have been protesting the death of a Cambodian immigrant who died while in custody just last week. The family of that man, a 46-year-old there, saying that he died while being held at a federal detention center in Center City, Philadelphia. They've been demanding answers of DHS here within the recent days. But again, that is what's taking place right now in Philadelphia. And you can see there again this ICE protest taking place, again, all in the context as well of what we're seeing in other cities across the country, like Minneapolis and abroad. And so wanted to show you those two things that are happening at the moment while we try to see if we can get Deric back on. I think we do. So let's see if we can get him back. There we go. Okay. And Deric, I didn't see your T-shirt before, so now I get at least to see your T-shirt as we pull you back up here with us. And we appreciate you for keeping with us and still trying. And I know you can hear me now. We were just talking about a few things with the legacy of Dr. King. You were talking about the one book, and that really highlights that as we celebrate and honor Dr. King, there were so many other people, the others, that had to play a role, too, behind the scenes. You have another book that you've written, and you were recently the keynote speaker here in Virginia, not too far, in Danville over the weekend for a celebration. And you were talking about the context of what we're seeing right now in the country, particularly with the Trump administration, with what we know from Dr. King. We only have a few minutes left in this stream, but I'd really like to hear a little bit of your thoughts on how you think his message would flow today and what we're seeing in terms of what the administration is doing in connection to, what his work stood for.
Absolutely. He would, wow, his voice is so powerful. His message is so relevant even today. He was about the least of these. And you look at this administration and it is a full-out attack on the least of these. Okay, you're cutting health care. The tariffs are going to cost the average family over another $2,300 a year. A lot of people's health care are going to double and triple. And that particular issue is super important to me because I worked in one of the 10 regional offices in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services out of Atlanta. We served the 8 southeastern states. So we had the great privilege of implementing the Affordable Care Act for the first Black president. And ironically, we had the only all-Black office of a political appointee. And of course, the law was passed in 2010. In 2013, it was implemented. And what we're going to have is millions of people who are going to lose their health insurance because of the lack of the Obama subsidies. And of course, this president promised to replace and repeal Obamacare over 70 times in the court, and those were always overturned, and he never was able to do it. But what he did do was kill the individual mandate. But what it does is it demands that people pay a little more, who have a little more, so that people who can't afford health insurance can. And so these are the people who park our cars, they bag our groceries and stock our shelves, they cut our lawns, all of these kind of things. So he would really talk about the injustice because we are the richest nation on the planet of the earth. And so those are a couple of the things.
I saw on your website and in talking with you too, you already talked about how you worked with Dr. Lowry, but also I think I saw a picture. Was it you and Rosa Parks at one point as well? Did I make that up? It's there too.
Sure.
So you've been in front and with prominent figures in the civil rights movement. From your estimation in those conversations with them, your work that you've done with the SCLC, your work under multiple administrations, how far do you think, if Dr. King were here today to look at it, he would say that we have come since his death, particularly since he shared his vision for what he thought the U.S. could be? And we have only about a minute left, but I wanted to ask you this question.
I think he would say we had come a long way, but we are taking drastic steps back, really, since the emergence of Donald Trump. We now live in a society where we will shoot unarmed white women in the face in Minneapolis and drag disabled women out of their cars. I'm talking about white women too, not black women. There's a full-out attack on blackness and black history and DEI. So he would be extremely alarmed that we had made all that progress. Now that progress is being threatened and rolled back just systematically due to Project 2025. So that's why I did write my new book, The Longest 4 Years of My Life, A View from the Field by a Black Fed in the Trump administration. And it's ringing true today.
Again, Deric Gilliard, appreciate you, author and historian. And just off of that, as we close out, I want to reread Martin Luther King III, his statement here today on behalf of the family, that Dr. King challenged us to confront racism, inequality, and division, not with despair or violence, but with truth, courage, and love. So a lot of conversations will be held today, obviously, about Dr. King. And Deric, I appreciate you for being a part of our conversation here today and sharing your thoughts and opinions on all of this.
Thank you, Eugene.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care today.